There have been talks for Nigeria to restructure. The ruling APC has defined it for its own consumption, but the devolution of power bill in the National Assembly suffered a huge blow. So then, where do we go from here? At the State Houses of Assembly, they are not on the same page with the National Assembly, and they have spoken up. Houses of Assembly are backing the proposal for devolution of power. They have also condemned the National Assembly for rejecting it in the ongoing constitutional amendment. The chairman of the Speakers of Houses of Assembly, Honorable Abdulmumin Kamba, said this in his remark before presenting the constitutional amendment of State Assemblies to the Senate President Bukola Saraki on Thursday.
Your Excellencies, on behalf of the constituents, we want to plead that the bill on devolution of powers be reconsidered and form part of the next proposed amendments to the Constitution.
So, I mean, with all of this debate that has been on restructuring through federalism, well, one thing is at the center of that. The fact that the center carries way too much that it can bear, and so the constituent units are being dragged along. And in fact, they do say that a lot of the problem Nigeria faces now is a question of restructuring. And when will that happen? So let's get the conversation started. Devolution of power, they say, must happen. Joining us in our Abuja studio is the national chairman of PPA, Chief Peter Ame. Thank you so much for your time on the program tonight. Where do we go from here? Does it look like the devolution of power will happen with the kind of drama that we saw in the National Assembly, perhaps in the two chambers, but the State Houses of Assembly seems that they're not on the same page? Where do you think we are headed from here?
A lot of Nigerians are coming to terms with the importance of devolution of power. So the contemporary practice of federal structure in Nigeria hampers growth rather than avail us with economic development and progress. If you look at it, the federal government is carrying a lot of load on its head, with 68 on the exclusive legislative list and about the other 20-something on the concurrent list. Even the concurrent list, where the laws are made in the state that contradict that of the federal system, it is proved to be void. So for us, if you look at even the revenue sharing processes, the federal government takes 52.8%, the state takes 26%, 22%, while the local government are supposed to take 20%. Despite the huge responsibility that you find within the state, where the federal government are carrying so much weight on their head when it comes to primary health care, township roads, a lot of other issues, mineral explorations within the state, within the land and boundaries of the state. This does not make our state, our state competitive. We are continuing to practice this feeding bottle federalism. It's not going to work if we come every month and come to do this sharing. This 52% being given to state, I think there should be a reduction from that amount of money and reduce the percentage for the state, for the federal government, to that of the state. If you look at what Lagos state government have done, they've been able to challenge a lot of items that federal government used to call what is in the legislative list, from the waterways and the hotel registration court proceeding that the Lagos state government has taken upon themselves. They've been able to prove that it's very important for us to continue to devolve power to the state so that we can lead and then make the state more effective and more responsive and more responsible. So for us, we believe that devolution of power is the way to go. It was baffling when we learned that the National Assembly rejected it. It was even more shameful when you hear the excuses being given for the rejection, that most of the members do not really understand what was on the devolution of power that was brought before them. So we're happy that the state has seen the light, despite the fact that they rejected the local government autonomy bill on the constitutional amendment. So for us, we are happy. As Nigerians, we think that if Nigeria must make progress, we must reduce the kind of burden, the kind of weight that the federal system is carrying, so that we will stop this papa carry picking democratic federal structure.
All right. Mr. Anyika Odumakin has since joined us on the program here in our Lagos studio. He was at the National Confab in 2014, a delegate there. Thank you so much, Mr. Odumakin, for coming. We've been discussing, at least I've had this conversation with you severally on the issues of true federalism, the issues of the structure in Nigeria. From what we saw from the State Houses of Assembly, standing face to face with the National Assembly and condemning their stand, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's a good development that the state assemblies have voted for devolution of powers. Anybody that sees Nigeria is wobbling today because we have put so much weight on the center. The center is overweight, over bloating, and it's sitting on the rest of the federation. Look at the issue of herdsmen, attacks against farmers that's going on over the country, or the question of anti-open grazing law. You have had today you had the IGP of the police, or yesterday, talking about the fact that, oh, states must have ranches before they can make laws. So it's not the IG that will tell the states when to make laws. That is part of the fact that you have an overbearing center. And why is the IG saying this? Because he knows that his governors are just title and name. They are chief executives, but they have no authority. They have no coercive power to enforce the will of the assembly. That's why the IG can come.
So it brings to the table the issue of state policing also.
Policing. So which will actually be devolution of powers.
Because when people say when the federal or the center sheds weight, the state policing perhaps will be one of the weights.
Part of it. For instance, look at it. If you go to Kano today, there is the Hishba, which is the Sharia police. Enforcing Sharia, they go about, if you are selling beer in Kano, they will take the bottles, they will destroy it at the side of them. They are enforcing Sharia. But you now say state governors, democratically elected, cannot have their own police to enforce their own law, and an IGP or police will come out and say, okay, you cannot make law until you do this.
Mr. Odumakin, it's beyond I think right now, the issues are beyond the debate.
Yep.
The issues have become the realities of how this can come to pass. So when the state assemblies voted and the National Assembly is not on the same page, do you see the reality of devolution of power coming true?
No, we're about resolving the issues. When it gets to a point where the federal region is saying that this is what we want, and some people sit in Abuja and say that cannot happen, then when short men begin to cast long shadows, the sun is about to set.